Imagine this. You're working on an amazing new branding and logo design project for a client. You're having so much fun. You're feeling super proud of the design. You know it meets the client's needs. It's everything they're looking for. You've spent countless hours on it and you can't wait to show it to the client and share it in your portfolio. But when you present it to the client, they hit you with a bunch of feedback and requests for edits that you know are going to look bad and undo all of that hard, intentional work you just did. What do? Let's talk about it. I'm Alyssa Downey. I am a self-employed brand and web designer, and I help other ambitious self-employed designers like you nail their processes, wow their clients, and grow their businesses with confidence. And in this video, we're going to talk about what to do when clients ask for bad edits to branding and logo design projects, when they want to make changes that you know are not conducive to the goals of the project, don't work for their target audience, or just outright look bad. I want to start with a little bit of a mindset shift. What we're calling bad feedback or poor taste can be a tricky thing to address with the client because you don't want to make the client feel bad, right? You don't want them to feel like you're shutting down their opinions and not listening to them. You don't want them to walk away from the project feeling like they didn't have a good experience with you. At the end of the day, you're creating a brand design for the client's business, not yours. You want them to be happy with the design, but the client is also hiring you because you are the design expert and they are not. And it is your responsibility to guide the client away from solutions that will hinder their business and towards your best recommendations. So let's get into it. Tip number 1. The first most important thing to do when clients give you bad, unproductive feedback on projects is actually kind of a preventative measure. You need to make sure you're starting every branding project with strategy. Now, when I say start with strategy, I don't mean that you need to have a huge day-long brand strategy session where you're doing strategy exercises and helping the client figure out their mission and voice and vision and values. You can do all of that, and if that's part of your process, that's great. But at the bare minimum, you need to meet with the client before you start any design and ask them questions that help you understand these things: the client's core values, their target audience, their goals, how they want to make their customers or clients feel, and how they want to be perceived by their audience. These things are very important, much more important than asking, what colors do you like? Or can you send me inspiration for your logo? You don't actually need inspiration or colors. You need to know who their business is at the core and how they want to come across to their customers and clients. Those things will enforce your design decisions, and they will give you extremely valuable information to back up your recommendations and help you push back against counterproductive feedback on the design later. There are loads of questions you can ask your client that will help you understand these strategic core things about their business. In the video description below, I've linked a free download of my branding kickoff meeting questionnaire, which includes every question I ask my clients before starting a branding project. And I highly recommend that you meet with the client face-to-face for this initial meeting because it allows you to get deeper, fuller answers than asking the client to, say, fill out a questionnaire on their own. It allows you to ask more questions and get clarity if you need it, and have just a more natural conversation that just leads to better answers. All right, so let's move on to tip 2. This tip is listen to the client and understand why they're asking for whatever their edit request is. Let's say you've done the strategy, you've asked the right questions, and you understand the client's core values, how they want to make people feel, all those things. You've used those things to guide your design decisions. Let's say that perhaps you're working with a client who is a therapist and they want to make their clients feel calm and relaxed and in good hands. So you use a pale blue color in their logo to convey that soft, relaxed feeling. When you present it to the client says that they don't like pale blue, they would like bright orange. And you're like, that is the opposite of calm and relaxed. That is going to send the wrong message. Instead of reacting and freaking out and thinking this is going to ruin the design, you need to understand why the client wants this. Why don't they like the pale blue and why do they want the bright orange? Because sometimes the thing that they are asking for is not what they really want. Sometimes the client is responding to something about the design and their brain starts working and they try to come up with solutions for you because they want to be helpful, but because the client is not a designer, they don't do this every day, they don't understand that what they ask for is actually not a good solution for their business. For example, the therapist client in this example might not really want to replace the pale blue with bright orange. They might just think the design is a little too bland and they want it to have more movement and feel more engaging and inviting. If that's the case, there are lots of solutions, but maybe they just don't know how to put that into words. So they jump to, well, maybe I should ask to change the color to bright orange, which is more fun. So if the client asks for an edit that's really not in line with the information that you uncovered during that strategy conversation, You need to say, thank you for your feedback. Can you let me know a little bit more about what you're hoping this orange will help you achieve? What feels off about the pale blue? And have a conversation about that so that you can understand why they're asking for it, and if that is indeed what they really want, or if it's just their way of trying to problem solve something else. Let's move on to tip 3. This tip is to cite what you talked about in that initial strategy meeting. Remember, you asked the client all these important questions about the core of their business, who they are, what they value, what they want their audience to think of them. These are really important details that enforce their brand colors, fonts, the symbols, the design aesthetic. Let's say that therapy client actually does want the bright orange, simply because orange is their favorite color. Now, we know that that's not a good idea. But again, the client is not a designer. They feel very close to their business. It's essentially an extension of them. So naturally, wanting to use their favorite color in the design is not a crazy idea from the client perspective, right? But again, you know that that's not the best color to convey the right emotions about their business and attract the right target audience. So because you asked those initial deep strategy questions, you now can say, I understand that you love the color orange personally, although you said that you want people to feel relaxed and calm, and that your core values are serenity and inner peace. Soft, light colors, like soft blue, convey a sense of serenity and calmness. Bright orange, on the other hand, conveys boldness and loudness and energy. You said that your target audience is often coming to you because they feel overwhelmed, and you want them to feel like there's a weight off their chest when they work with you. Bright orange has the opposite effect and is likely to be more off-putting to your clients. And when you can confidently say that and spit the client's own words back at them for what they said they wanted their design to accomplish, that's very powerful. It's very difficult for them to continue to push back. And they still might not be happy with the pale blue, and you'll adjust that, but at least you've gotten them away from bright orange. And lastly, tip 4. This tip is to show the client what they asked for next to what you would recommend and explain why your solution is better for their business. Now, this might contradict other advice you've heard, or you might be thinking, why would I show the client the bad design change? What if they like it too much? But the key is that you're going to explain why your recommendation is better. The thing is, sometimes the client just needs to see it in order to understand. But if you never show it to them, they're always going to wonder, what if my designer had just done what I asked? If you just tell the client, no, I'm not doing that, that's gonna look bad, that's just not a very good experience for the client. They're going to feel shut down. They'll feel like you didn't listen to them. You weren't open to their feedback. Like they paid all this money for a logo for their business and you wouldn't even entertain their ideas. I'm a huge advocate for treating clients really, really well. And I don't ever want my clients to feel silly or feel like I don't respect their opinions. And hopefully you don't either. But again, the key here is to also show your recommendation and explain why. What I would recommend for the example of the therapist client that really wants bright orange is to show them the bright orange logo version. Show them mock-ups of that logo in use with the bright orange everywhere so that they can really see how loud and in your face and not appropriate for their business it is. Along with this, I would recommend finding examples of other therapy logos. Chances are most of what you come across is going to have soft, pale colors, and lay those all out on a page and explain most therapy practices use these colors to convey relaxation and calm. Then find a whole bunch of polar opposite brands that use bright orange, brands that are built around energy and excitement and being bold, and explain these brands use the color that you love, but they have totally different goals and target audiences and moods that they are conveying. Truly, sometimes the client needs to see it to understand why it doesn't work. You might also consider including links to articles from reputable websites that talk about color psychology and what pale blue and bright orange are typically used to convey. And a conversation like this is often best done face-to-face, or at the very least through a video recording of you walking through all of this and explaining it. When you do this, you are showing the client that 1, you're trying to help their business communicate the right message, which they told you about in that initial strategy meeting. And 2, it's not just your opinion. You've cited other brands and you've cited other articles to help back you up. This can be very powerful for helping them detach their branding from their personal preferences and look at it from the perspective of what's best for their business. So those are my top tips for navigating a client asking for bad, counterproductive edits to their logo design and branding. Give them a try and let me know if they help you achieve better results and better designs for your clients. And go ahead and grab my free branding project kickoff questionnaire at the link in the description below. This includes the exact questions to ask your clients in order to get that deep, rich info about their business that you can then use to help back up your design recommendations later. If you have any specific questions about navigating difficult project situations with your clients, feel free to drop them in a comment below. And hit subscribe so you can be sure to catch the next video in this series about navigating client feedback.